During this portion of the Bentley Power Civil Plans Production course, we're going to be looking at drawing an alignment and putting labels, tick mark information, station information on that alignment. It should be noted that some of the data that we'll be accessing in this course was previously created. For example, we have a coordinate geometry database that has all our alignment and profile information already stored. We have the drainage design for our project has been created within the drainage module of Power Civil. The water sewer design has been created in the water sewer module, and the proposed surface or grading was done within the Power Civil Site Modeler module. These files have been provided as part of the dataset. To learn more information or to learn how to create these files and how to work with the drainage, the water sewer, or the modeling portion of the program, please refer to other Bentley Power Civil courses, which are covered in other workshops of this nature. So in our training guide, we're going to start on page 1-2, where we're going to annotate a road alignment and eventually a profile. So as you can see, we're going to enter into a specific design file called layout.dgn. This is where we're going to draw the alignment or place the alignment labels, the station labels, and so forth. So we want to launch Power Civil and open up. When it opens up to the MicroStation Manager, we're going to select the file and get into it. So here I am at the MicroStation Manager screen of the Power Civil tool or Power Civil software. I've navigated down to the Data Geosite Plans Production folder. In there I've got several CAD files. The one we're going to be interested in is our layout.dgn. We also have a border, standard border for our plan sheets, and we have the base topo in a DGN form and a DWG form. So either one we could reference in. So I'm going to select the layout DGN file. The other thing I want to make sure I do is set my user to commercial. Again, if we place the commercial.ucf file in the correct location under our workspace users folder, wherever Power Civil was installed, then we'll see the commercial user there. So I highlight the DGN, I have the correct workspace, so I click OK, and it opens up the file. Once in Power Civil, I'm going to access my Civil tools. From my Civil tools, I'm going to access on the lower left, or the first column, bottom row, my Design and Computation Manager. Design and Computation Manager is a tool that reads a standard database, and that database contains items. So as you can see here, it's kind of a folder structure. It's got folders or categories, and in those categories it will have items. We have one pre-set up, and this would be the same DDB that all people would access within the organization. So we'd have one DDB file for all users. And those items are set up to draft appropriately on the right level, weight, and color. But more importantly is that some items have intelligence not only for just drafting line work, but also for labeling. So for example, I'm going to navigate to my BL and CL folder just by double clicking on it. In that folder I've got 3 items. I have a BL40, which is set up to draw alignments at 40 scale. So all the text heights and widths are sized appropriately for a 40 scale plot. And in this particular case, I also have an item for 20 scale and 50 scale. The user can set up the one item to encompass all 3 scales, but in this case we set up one item for each scale. So I could set up an item where the text can adjust its height and width according to the scale the user chooses, versus choosing one item kind of locked in at a particular scale. But I simply highlight the item that I want to use, and I click Draw Plan and Profile. That brings up an Open Job dialog. The job is a GPK or coordinate geometry file. This file contains all the alignments, profile, parcel data, point data, curve data. All that information is stored in coordinate geometry. When the roadway was designed, we stored that alignment and profile information in this GPK file. So I'm simply just telling the software which GPK file goes with the job that I'm working on. Because that information is stored in Kogo, there's a lot of information about it that we can draft. So this particular item, once the Draw Plan and Profile dialog comes up, is set up to draft the various types of elements stored in Kogo. For example, points and lines and curves and spirals and chains. But it's not set up to draw parcels and profiles. So you can configure the item to draw what you want. And we'll see that again later. So what I have is a chain or alignment that I want to draft. So I select the chains option, and in my database I have a chain called DeKalb, and that's the street that kind of runs across the northern end of my site. I can set the scale. In this case I probably want to use 40 scale so that the text sizes appear appropriate. I also want to set it to draft not the direction label, the bearing, and the distances for the tangents. If I want, I can have it place curve data and curve labels and so forth. So you can see there's a lot of items that we can turn on in that item, in this main item. Inside its setup, it has got settings for all these to draft appropriately. I'm simply going to turn on direction labels and length labels, and then I highlight DeKalb, or click on DeKalb once really, and it drafts it into the file. So go ahead and close that, and we can review what it drafted. So you can see it drew a blue line. So that was set up with the item. It put text in the file for the tangents and the bearings. The decimal place accuracy and all that can be controlled by the item. Real quick, I'll just review the item and show you that under, for example, we drew lines. If I look at that, I can see that that's why the line is blue, because it's set up there, and I can see where the direction label is set up there with 2 decimal place accuracy. It's text height and text width. I can see here the format, and I can see why it was placed along the line, and it's offset from the line. So you can see how each of that information can be changed or controlled through this dialog. The length, the same thing. I can see the decimal place accuracy shown there, the level preferences there, and then the orientation or placement of it. So that item is set up to draft how it did. Now once I've drawn the alignment, maybe I want to place tick marks on the alignment. Now one item can be set up to do both, but in our case I've set up a second item under the stationing folder that will draft tick marks for me. So I'm going to highlight that item in the list, and I'll hit Draw Plan and Profile. Again, I'll be asked to select my job. I'll click OK, and that'll bring up the Draw Plan and Profile dialog. What you'll notice under element type here is that this item was only set up to do stationing. So you can see that you can actually control from a CAD management standpoint what this item is allowed to draw. So this particular item was only set up to do stationing. The scale is held over from the last time I've keyed it in. I can have tick marks placed, the stationing placed. I can place labels at the PCs and PTs. I can place PI labels. I can set up the ticks to be on the left with their labels on the left. That's on small. Large ticks, same thing. And the control points, I can say, orient them to the curve. I can force them all to be on the left or force them all to be on the right. So for example, if I say force left, they're all going to appear above the line because my stationing 0 stations at the left-hand end of the road. So the left-hand side is to the north. Once again, I would click the name and it would plot the information. So let me close the draw plane and profile. At this point, I'll just close DNC Manager and I can review what got plotted. So you can see that the labels were placed for the PCs and PTs, and the station labels were placed as well. And all that is controlled by the item. If I'm unhappy, I would hit undo, and that would erase everything that I just drew, and I could redraw it, make some changes and redraw it. So at this point we've labeled the alignment. Next we'll look at the profile.